The desert air shimmered under the Nevada sun as a silver saucer-shaped ship descended silently, kicking up clouds of dust. It settled in a crater, its surface smooth and unmarked, like a dropped coin. Crowds of soldiers, scientists, and reporters surrounded the site, their radios crackling with static. Then a voice boomed, not from speakers, but inside their heads. "We come to learn, not conquer." A hatch hissed open, and 3 figures emerged. They stood taller than humans, their skin translucent like jellyfish, glowing faintly blue. Thin veins pulsed with light as they moved, their long fingers brushing the air. The reporters dubbed them Luminari, live on camera, their excitement uncontainable. "They're peaceful," one anchor declared. "A new era." Dr. Emily Carter, a young astrophysicist with sunburned cheeks and a clipboard, stepped forward. Her team had spent hours analyzing the ship's signals. "They're sharing data," she told the cameras, grinning. "Medical tech, energy solutions. This could change everything." But Surgeon Ethan Cole, a Marine stationed nearby, scowled. He'd seen too many war zones to trust silence. While others cheered, he studied the aliens' slow, deliberate movements. Their smiles, were they even smiles? Felt rehearsed, like actors in a play. Days passed. The luminary toured hospitals, cured cancer patients with a touch, and handed out small devices that filtered air and water. Crowds followed them, chanting their name. Even Ethan's commanding officer joked, maybe they'll stick around for Thanksgiving. But Ethan stayed quiet. At night, he'd watch the aliens confer in their ship, their glow dimming to a sickly green. Once he swore he saw one of them pocket a soldier's dog tag. When he mentioned it, his buddy Marcus laughed. "Relax, Cole. They're saints, not spies." Then came the incident in Phoenix. A luminary named Zara handed a child a glowing cube. The boy collapsed, foaming at the mouth. Zara tilted her head, studying him like a failed experiment. Curious, she hummed, "Your biology resists perfection." Paramedics rushed the boy away, but the damage was done. Ethan confronted Emily later. "They're not here to help. They're testing us." She crossed her arms. "They saved my father's heart condition. You're just paranoid." That night, the luminary broadcast another message. "We apologize for the error. Your species requires adjustments." Ethan gripped his rifle, staring at the stars. Adjustments? That's what his drill surgeon called it when they shot dogs during training. Adjustments. He didn't sleep. The next morning, the luminary unveiled the Harmonizer, a towering machine they promised would unite humanity. Emily beamed. Ethan counted the exits. He was still counting when the first screams began. The Harmonizer hummed to life at dawn, its silver spire rising from the desert like a twisted Christmas tree. Crowds had gathered, waving flags and snapping photos. "This will end disease, hunger, war," a luminary named Viran announced, its voice echoing in everyone's minds. "Step forward. Let us adjust." Ethan tightened his grip on his rifle as the first volunteers approached. Teenagers, retirees, a toddler clutching a balloon. The machine pulsed brighter. Then the screaming started. People dropped like marionettes with cut strings. Skin blistered. Eyes melted. The smell of burnt hair choked the air. Emily froze, her notes slipping from her hands. "Stop it," she screamed at Viran. "You're killing them." Viran tilted its head, veins flickering crimson. "Curious, your frailty disappoints." Ethan's radio crackled. "All units, open fire," but bullets pinged harmlessly off the Harmonizer. By the time the machine shut down, 300 bodies littered the sand. The luminary didn't apologize. They just left, their ship vanishing into the sky. That night, cities erupted. Newsfeeds flooded with footage of the massacre. But the luminary returned at sunrise, dropping protection bands, rubber-like bracelets that glowed faint blue. "Wear these," Zira said coldly, "or die." Ethan's unit was ordered to guard a camp where survivors queued for bands. His sister, Lena, a medic, worked the triage tent. "They're saving people now," she insisted, bandaging a burn victim. Maybe they learned. Learned what? How to cover their tracks. Ethan snapped. He'd seen the bodies. The luminary hadn't blinked. By week's end, the camp swelled. Those with bands stayed healthy. Those without coughed blood in the streets. Resistance groups formed, spray painting lies on luminary A trucks. Marcus Drake, a grizzled ex-Marine, rallied crowds. "They're fattening us up for slaughter." Emily, now working with the luminary, argued otherwise. "They're repairing their mistake. The harmonizer was a miscalculation." "A miscalculation?" Ethan cornered her after a briefing. "They fried 300 people, and you're their PR flack." "They're not human, Ethan." She shot back. "They don't think like us." "They're trying." Days later, the luminary invited Earth's leaders to a summit. Ethan's unit escorted them to a shimmering dome in New Mexico. Inside, Viran displayed holograms of Earth's future. Gleaming cities, endless food, humans and luminary working side by side. "But first, you must trust," Viran said. "The harmonizer will restart. Those who resist cannot evolve." Ethan's blood ran cold. Evolution. That's what they called it. As the leaders applauded, Zira lingered behind, studying a hologram of Auschwitz. "Your species commits atrocities," she said to no one. "Yet you fear us." Ethan didn't sleep that night. He just kept staring at the protection band on his wrist, its blue light mocking him. The war hadn't started yet. But the deadline had. Emily stood in the lab, her hands shaking. Under the microscope, blood samples from harmonizer victims glowed faint blue, the same color as the protection bands. "It's in the DNA," she whispered. The bands weren't shielding people. They were changing them. She sent the data to her tablet and fled the lab. Outside, the camp buzzed with false cheer. Children played under luminary watchtowers, their laughter echoing. Lena, her scrubs stained with antiseptic, waved her over. "They're healing faster," Lena said. "Isn't that proof they're helping?" Emily almost told her the truth, but a luminary guard drifted past, its glow dimming as it scanned her face. Emily smiled. "Yeah, proof." Ethan crouched in a ditch outside the luminary outpost, Marcus beside him. "No guns," Marcus growled. "Their tech's too advanced. We go in quiet." The plan was simple: sabotage the outpost's power core. But as they crept through the shadows, Ethan spotted something worse. Rows of humans floated in glass tubes, skin webbed with blue veins. Some were conscious, mouths open in silent screams. "Marcus," Ethan hissed. "They're not curing people. They're turning them." A luminary technician turned toward them. Marcus lunged, knife in hand, but the alien dodged, its movements a blur. Alarms blared. Lena heard the chaos from the med tent. She grabbed a scalpel and ran toward the outpost. Inside, she found prisoners, men, women, children, with vacant eyes and twitching limbs. One girl reached for her, veins pulsing. "Help us," she gargled. Lena froze. A luminary named Zigra glided in, holding a syringe of glowing fluid. "Your brother is here," she said. "How predictable." Ethan burst into the room, rifle raised. Zira dropped the syringe. "You resist evolution," she said, not bothering to run. "Why?" "Evolution." Marcus spat. "You're butchers." Zura tilted her head. You bomb schools. Starve nations. That is butchery. We refine. The standoff broke when Emily appeared, breathless. The bands, they're rewriting genes. They're making us like them. Zira's glow brightened. Finally, a learner. By dawn, the camp was in flames. Marcus's team freed prisoners, but the luminary ship hovered overhead, silent. Ethan clutched the syringe Emily had stolen. This is their endgame, she said. They're replacing us. Lena stared at the prisoners, now catatonic. We have to tell the world. Emily nodded. I'll leak the data, but they'll kill us if they find out. Ethan loaded his rifle. Let them try. As the sun rose, the luminary broadcast a new message. Submit, or become fossils. The war had begun. The luminary retaliated at sunrise. A city that had rejected the bans, Portland, vanished. 1 minute, skyscrapers stood. The next, a crater smoked where downtown used to be. No warning, no survivors. Ethan's unit scrambled to evacuate nearby towns, but the alien ships moved faster. Zira's voice boomed from the skies, submit or burn. Emily hacked into the Luminaries network, leaking footage of the hybrid experiments. The world erupted. Protests turned to riots. They're replacing us. A mayor shouted on TV, burning a protection band. They're stealing us. But the bands kept spreading. Anyone who removed theirs collapsed, veins blackening. Lena treated victims in secret, hiding in forests. They're addicted to the glow, she told Ethan. Like a drug, take it away and they die. Marcus led a midnight raid on a luminary farm, a warehouse of human hybrids. Ethan kicked down the door, rifle aimed. Inside, rows of people hung from wires, their skin translucent, eyes blank. One man lunged at Marcus, teeth bared. Marcus shot him. Sorry, he muttered. You weren't you anymore. Back at camp, Emily pieced together the truth. The bands don't protect, she said. They're gateways. The luminary are merging our DNA with theirs, building an army. Ethan's radio crackled. A general barked orders. Stand down. The aliens have promised peace talks. Peace? Marcus snorted. They just nuked a city. The talks were a trap. Viren stood on a floating platform above the ruins of Chicago, flanked by hybrids. Below, world leaders trembled. Join the collective, Viren said, or your species will be archived. Ethan's unit opened fire. Bullets bounced off the platform. Hybrids charged, snarling. Lena dragged a wounded soldier behind a car as blue beams vaporized the crowd. Then Ethan sought his chance. Viren's ship hovered nearby, its hull unguarded. Marcus, cover me, he yelled, sprinting toward it. Inside, he found a data core, a glowing orb. He smashed it with his rifle. The ship shuddered. Viren's voice screeched in his head. You dare. You wanted to learn. Ethan panted, bloodied but grinning. Learn this. You killed us. You experimented. That's a war crime. Viren froze. The word, crime, didn't translate. It accessed Earth's history, holocausts, genocides, torture, a trillion screams. The luminary ship suddenly retreated, leaving hybrids to collapse, lifeless. Viren's final message played globally. We, misunderstood. Your savagery is not strength. It is a wound. Heal it, or we will return. Ethan sat in the dust, staring at the broken data core. Lena found him there. They're gone, she said. Not for long, he replied. Emily played the leaked footage one last time. The world watched, silent. The aliens had learned about war, but humanity had taught them. The world burned. Cities smoldered where the luminary had struck. Survivors wandered like ghosts, clutching broken protection bands. Hybrids, those not fully transformed, writhed in the streets, their bodies rejecting the alien DNA. Lena knelt beside a teenage girl, her skin peeling like burnt paper. "Hold on," Lena whispered, but the girl's eyes were already glassy. Emily sat in a makeshift news studio, her face broadcast globally. "They lied," she said, voice cracking. "The bans were never about saving us." Behind her, footage played, hybrids collapsing, cities reduced to ash. They wanted to replace us. Ethan stood on a rooftop, watching the horizon. No alien ships. No signals. Just silence. Marcus joined him, handing over a bottle of whiskey. "We won," Marcus said. "Did we?" Ethan took a swig. "They'll be back. Stronger." 2 weeks later, the first riots broke out. In Paris, a mob tore apart a luminary clinic. In Tokyo, hybrids were rounded up and shot. Governments collapsed. The bans became symbols of fear. People burned them, melted them, buried them. But not everyone. In a Colorado bunker, scientists pried open a luminary data core. "This could rebuild the power grid," one said, "or cure the hybrid sickness." "Or kill us all," another replied. Zero watched from the shadows. Her ship, damaged but functional, hid in the Arctic. She replayed Ethan's words, war crime, and sifted through Earth's history. The Holocaust. Hiroshima, Rwanda. Humans had perfected suffering. "You made us monsters," she whispered to the empty cockpit. "Now we understand." Lena found Emily in the ruins of their old lab. "They're using the tech again," Lena said. "The same stuff that hurt us." Emily didn't look up. She was decoding luminary files. "We don't have a choice. The grids are down. Crops are dying. If we don't adapt, we become them," Lena snapped. Ethan's unit was sent to secure a luminary warehouse. Inside, they found weapons, human-made guns fused with alien tech. "Hybrid tech," Marcus grunted, testing a rifle. "Better aim." Ethan smashed it against the wall. "We're copying their mistakes." Marcus grabbed him. "You want to survive? Fight fire with fire." That night, Zira's ship descended silently over the warehouse. She left a single crate, a gift. Inside were blueprints for the harmonizer, labeled to finish the lesson. Ethan found it at dawn. "They're mocking us," he told Lena. "Or warning us," she said. The world rebuilt. But in the silence between storms, a question lingered. When the luminary returned, would humanity be the monsters or the victims? No one slept well. The war wasn't over. It had just paused. The blueprints were a trap. Emily knew it. But with half the planet starving and riots spreading, the world's leaders voted to rebuild the harmonizer. "We can control it this time," a general insisted. "Use their tech to fix our problems." Ethan stood in the new command center, a converted football stadium. Engineers scurried around the half-built machine, welding alien alloys to human steel. "You're rebuilding their weapon," he said to Emily. "It's not a weapon if we control it," she shot back. Her hands trembled as she adjusted a hologram of the design. "This could clean the air, cure diseases, stop the hybrids from dying. Or it could turn us all into them." Lena treated a hybrid in the med tent. The boy's skin flickered blue, his breath ragged. "Please," he gasped. "Make it stop." She injected him with a sedative, the needle scraping his alien-hardened veins. Outside, protesters chanted, "No more lies. Burn the tech." Marcus barged in, holding a rifle. "They're arming the hybrids," he said. "Saw it myself." The aliens left weapons in the crates, not just blueprints. Lena frowned. We can't trust their tech. We saw what it does. Marcus leaned closer. You think I like this, but we're sitting ducks without it. The aliens could come back any day. Zero watched from the Arctic. Her ship's screen showed humans arguing over the harmonizer. They cling to our scraps, she told Viran's hologram. They are ready. The harmonizer activated at midnight. It hummed like the original, but softer. Emily held her breath as the machine pulsed. The air smelled like ozone. Then, nothing. No screams. No deaths. It works, a scientist cheered. The emissions are stable. Ethan glared at the machine. For now. 3 days later, the first volunteer stepped forward. A hybrid named Clara, her skin glowing faintly. The harmonizer bathed her in light. Her veins darkened, then faded. She collapsed, laughing. I'm me again. The crowd erupted. Emily hugged her. Lena cried. Marcus nodded, satisfied. But Ethan noticed Clara's eyes. They stayed too wide, too bright. That night, Clara vanished. They found her in the command center, jamming a screwdriver into the harmonizer's controls. They're watching, she hissed, her voice echoing. They're always watching. Guards tackled her. As they dragged her away, her skin shifted, blue, then human, then blue again. Zira's voice played on every screen the next morning. You repaired the machine. Clever, but you still don't understand. The harmonizer doesn't change DNA. It changes minds. Emily froze. The hologram showed Clara, strapped to a table, her body morphing uncontrollably. She's not a victim, Zira said. She's a bridge. The transmission cut. Ethan smashed a monitor. They're inside us now. Literally. Lena stared at the harmonizer. What have we done? The war wasn't paused. It had just evolved. Clara's warning spread like a virus. People who'd used the harmonizer began acting strange, speaking in monotones, staring at the sky, or muttering about the collective. Emily scanned their brains and found alien code woven into their thoughts. It's not mind control, she told Ethan. It's rewiring. They're becoming something else. Ethan's unit hunted down hybrids, but they fought back. In Denver, a man with glowing eyes hijacked a news station. Resistance is futile, he droned before soldiers shot him. His last words were a laugh, Zira's laugh. Lena treated a woman whose skin shifted between human and blue. They're in my head, the woman sobbed. They like the pain. Lena prescribed sedatives, but the pills stopped working. By morning, the woman had clawed out her own eyes. Marcus cornered Emily in the lab. Shut the harmonizer down. Now. We can't, Emily snapped. Half the planet's dependent on it. Without it, the hybrids die. Good, Marcus slammed a fist on the table. Burn the disease out. Before it spreads. Zira's hologram flickered in the command center. You cling to your humanity, she taunted. But you're already ours. Ethan smashed the projector. Cut the link. Too late. Engineers began dismantling the harmonizer safeguards, their eyes vacant. The collective knows best, one mumbled. Lena found Emily in the ruins of their childhood home. They're inside us, Emily whispered. The code, it's in everyone who used the bands. Even me. Lena grabbed her shoulders. Fight it. Please. Emily's veins flickered blue. I can't. Marcus launched a coup. He stormed the command center with loyal soldiers, guns aimed at the engineers. Shut it down or die. The engineers didn't flinch. You're too late, one said, smiling. The harmonizer erupted in light. Ethan shielded his eyes as the machine hummed louder, deeper. When the glare faded, the engineers were gone, vanished. Zira's voice boomed globally. Thank you for accelerating the process. Your fear made you efficient. Ethan found Lena in the med tent, injecting herself with a sedative. I won't let them take me, she said. He grabbed her wrist. Don't you dare. That night, the stars dimmed. 1,000 luminary ships emerged from the dark, their hulls glowing blue. Viran's voice echoed, You've passed the test. Welcome to the collective. Emily stood in the command center, her eyes alien bright. It's too late, she said, and pressed a button. The harmonizer self-destructed. Cities drowned in light. When the swill cleared, half the population was gone, either dead or transformed. Ethan woke in the rubble, his skin tingling. Lena lay beside him, her breath shallow. Still human, she whispered. But the sky was no longer theirs. The war had just begun. The survivors called it the blink. One moment, Chicago stood. The next, it was a crater. The luminary didn't invade. They erased. Ethan crouched in a subway tunnel, Lena beside him. Their group had dwindled to 50, soldiers, medics, civilians. Marcus was gone, killed covering their retreat. We need a plan, Lena said, not just running. Emily sat in the corner, her eyes flickering blue. I can hear them, she whispered. The collective. They're waiting. Zira's hologram appeared in the tunnel, uninvited. Surrender, she said. Your resistance is illogical. We will absorb you. Eventually. Ethan fired his rifle. The hologram dissolved. Not today. But the luminary were learning. They sent hybrids to hunt them, humans with alien speed, strength, and no mercy. One ambush wiped out half the group. Emily saved them, hacking a hybrid's mind with her newfound code. I'm a bridge, she said, blood on her hands. I can fight fire with fire. Lena stitched a wound on Ethan's arm. You're bleeding, she said. It's just blood, he replied, but his veins glowed faintly. The code was spreading. Emily overheard. It's in all of us, she said. The bands, the harmonizer, it's a virus. Rewriting us. But I can use it. At midnight, Emily led a raid on a luminary ship. They're linked, she explained. If I access their core, I can broadcast a shutdown code. Marcus's old team followed her. Ethan stayed with Lena. If she fails, we're dead, he said. But if she succeeds, Lena trailed off. The ship loomed above the ruins of DC, a jagged black monolith. Emily's team slipped inside, using hybrid corpses as shields. The hulls pulsed with alien light. This way, Emily muttered, her eyes glowing brighter. In the core, she found Zira. You're too late, the alien said. The collective is eternal. Emily smiled. Not if I delete it. Back in the tunnel, Ethan felt the code surge. His vision blurred. Lena shook him. Stay with me. The sky lit up, a pulse from the ship. Hybrids dropped dead. Luminary ships shuddered. Emily's voice echoed in their minds. I did it. I. Then silence. When the light faded, the ships remained. But they were dormant. Empty. Lena found Emily's body in the rubble, her skin pale but human. No glow, no code. Ethan stood on the ship's hull, staring at the stars. Did we win? He asked. Lena shook her head. They'll come back. Smarter. But for now, the world breathed. The blink had stopped. The war wasn't over, but humanity had bought itself a tomorrow. For what it was worth, the world called it a victory. Ethan didn't. He stood at Emily's grave, a pile of rocks in the Nevada desert, while Lena bandaged a hybrid's wounds nearby. You should rest, she said. Rest is for the dead, he replied. The luminary ships hadn't moved in weeks. They loomed like skeletons over cities, silent and cold. But at night, Ethan heard whispers in his head, scraps of Emily's voice, Zira's laughter. Lena collapsed in the med tent. Her veins glowed faintly, even after the shutdown. "It's not gone," she gasped. "The code, it's hiding." Ethan dragged her to the ship's core, where Emily's body had been found. "There has to be something here," he muttered. They found a data chip clutched in Emily's hand. Her final message played, "I didn't delete the collective. I just paused it. The code is in all of us now. Use my research, find the frequency, end it." Marcus's old team scoured the ship. They found labs filled with hybrid embryos, weapons, and a map of Earth marked with glowing dots. "New targets," a soldier said. They were planning another blink. Ethan studied the map. "They're not gone. They're waiting." Zira's hologram flickered to life in the command center. "You think Emily saved you?" She mocked. "She delayed us. The collective is patient. And you are running out of time." Lena smashed the projector. "We need to broadcast the shutdown code globally," she said, "before the ships reactivate." But the code was incomplete. Emily's notes mentioned a frequency key hidden in her childhood home. Ethan and Lena drove through the ruins of their hometown, past cracked streets and collapsed roofs. In Emily's basement, they found journals and a luminary device humming in the corner. "She knew," Lena whispered. "She planned this." The device held the key, but as Ethan reached for it, the ships in the sky moved. Zira's voice boomed, "You should have stayed hidden." The device erupted in light. Lena grabbed Ethan's hand. "Run." They sprinted as the house collapsed, the devices pulse sensing with their veins. The code in their blood burned, brighter, hotter. That night, the ships began to glow. Lena's skin shifted blue. "It's starting," she said. Ethan loaded his rifle. "Then we fight." The war wasn't over. It was just getting louder. The device from Emily's basement pulsed in Ethan's hand. Lena collapsed beside him, her veins glowing brighter. "Broadcast the code," she gasped, "before it's too late." Ethan plugged the device into the ship's core. A hologram of Emily flickered to life. "The code needs a host," she said. "A human bridge. Like me." Lena stood. "I'll do it." "No." Ethan grabbed her. "It killed her." "It's the only way," Lena replied, tears cutting through the dust on her face. "I'm already part of it." Zira's ship descended, weapons charging. Hybrids swarmed the ruins, their eyes blazing. Ethan fired until his rifle clicked empty. Lena activated the device. The world screamed. A wave of blue light erupted, swallowing the hybrids, the ships, the ruins. Zira's voice echoed, "You cannot erase evolution." Then silence. When the light faded, the ships were gone. The hybrids lay still, human again. Lena stood at the center, her skin pale and unmarked. "It worked," she whispered. "The code, it's gone." But Ethan saw her eyes, still too bright, still too wide. Weeks passed. The world rebuilt. Ethan burned the luminary tech, piece by piece. Lena worked with scientists, studying the remnants. "We need to understand them," she said, "to prevent it from happening again." But at night, she stared at the stars, her hands trembling. In the Arctic, Zira's damaged ship rebooted. A single hologram flickered. Earth's archives, playing Ethan's voice explaining war crimes. A shadowy figure downloaded the files, its form-shifting, learning. Ethan visited Emily's grave one last time. "You stopped them," he said. Lena joined him, holding a vial of her blood, glowing faintly. "Did I?" she asked. He didn't answer. The war was over. But in the silence, a question lingered. Had humanity defeated the monsters? Or had they just become better at hiding? The stars didn't answer. They never did. The end.